Today, my viewers, I've got a pretty interesting question for all of you. What kills an MMORPG? You can claim, a massive number of reasons for this, whether it's bad content, bad concepts, bad developers, bad decisions. But I'd like to argue that only one thing kills MMORPGs. And while this one thing has many causes itself, at the end of the day, it is the stake through the heart. That final decision maker. It is the collapse of community. When you neglect a community, don't listen to them, wrong them, it collapses. And when that happens, so will collapse the game. Because an MMORPG is only as viable as the people playing it. Community is an interesting idea. Community in this context is everyone who plays the game. Be it a hardcore raider, to a casual solo player, to a role player, to somebody who just plays with a small group of friends. Whether they interact with other players or not, they're part of that game's community. The most successful and highly rated MMOs tend to be built upon 5 pillars: content, motivation, progression, world, and community. And the most popular MMOs don't just focus on one of these, but keep them all in equal measure, and they ensure that they're intertwined with one another. Community is one of these 5, and while it's certainly extremely important on its own, this importance doesn't just come from how community is. It comes from how it's related to the rest of the game. Because if there's one lesson we took away from Warlords of Draenor, it is that community is defined by how a game is designed. If a game is designed to cause community interaction, people will interact. If it's designed to avoid that, people won't talk to each other. And I think we can all agree that the healthiest communities are the ones that engage the game together. But why is this? Why does community make a game so much better? Why is community such a strong force in these kinds of games? Whether they're single-player games, or MMORPGs, or pseudo-MMOs like The Division or Destiny. Well, people are social animals. We are. Even the most introverted human being still benefits from interaction with other people. It makes us better, it makes us stronger, it makes us feel more alive and included with society when we interact with others. And this is true in real life and in video games. Time after time, games that allow us to interact with each other, multiplayer games, whether they're cooperative, competitive, or massively multiplayer virtual worlds, tend to be more popular and have more longevity simply because we have the power to interact. This has actually been proven scientifically. There is a study out of Michigan State University which actually shows this. A sample size of players playing the game solo versus cooperatively versus competitively, the players who played the game with their friends, whether it was cooperatively or competitively, reported far more enjoyment than those who were playing the game alone. And they were playing Kinect Adventures for this study. So that just shows how powerful multiplayer is, if people could enjoy that awful piece of crap. In fact, this happens for a lot of people. A bad game can be made better with the simple inclusion of multiplayer. I hate to say it, but despite Borderlands being among my favorite titles, it doesn't rest on its gameplay, but its writing and its ability for people to play together. Solo, it's basically a solidly funny romp through various deserts, shooting a bunch of the same enemies with a vast array of different guns. So community, or at least communal play, make games better. This is not so much a theory, but a fact for most people. Even introverted players seem to get more enjoyment out of a game with others. And this is also the primary leg of the entire MMORPG genre. Because when it comes to designing virtual worlds with vast server architectures, sacrifices need to be made to make up for lag or computational power or something. But there needs to be sacrifices in gameplay to make it work. That's why MMORPGs have always stood on the leg of their community. Despite the fact that this has been getting less and less prevalent lately, there is still a massive push for community because these are the only games that can really create that communal sense of connectedness with your game. MMORPGs are all about community. It's what drives them. It's what makes them stronger. It's what makes them a genre that has endured for 30 years. Well, 30 years if you count multi-user dungeons. Here's a good example of this theory in action. What makes Dragon Age Inquisition and World of Warcraft different. This is something I found while playing Inquisition. It felt very much like an MMORPG. You have large, expansive zones with various quests. You have a slow, hotbar-style combat system, which is designed more so for slow and calculated encounters than it is for fast, twitch-based combat. It feels very much like a classic MMORPG in a lot of ways, and I think some people would agree with me. It's a little bit more animated, and it's probably got a better story than most MMOs, but it still feels like an MMO. But no matter how much you love Inquisition, the big difference here is I can almost guarantee that 10 million people are not playing Inquisition right now. Even when Inquisition's most recent DLCs were coming out, I doubt 10 million people were playing it. With the only real, true gameplay difference between the two being community, you can really kind of see the strength of that multiplayer atmosphere. Even at its worst, I have a feeling that World of Warcraft was annihilating Dragon Age at its best. This isn't to disparage Inquisition, by the way. I understand that they're two very different genres of video games. I just wanted to kind of demonstrate the strength that community can have over a video game. When you look at it this way, it's no wonder in the mid-2000s everybody was clamoring to shove multiplayer into games that had no business having multiplayer in them, like Dead Space 2. And it makes a lot of sense now why a lot of developers are turning to the pseudo-MMORPG model laid down by games like Destiny and The Division. So what makes a community strong? What makes communities powerful? What's the difference between a community in, say, Final Fantasy XIV and a community in a game like WildStar? One word: confidence. When's the last time you gave up on an MMORPG and just completely left? Why did you do it? Was it bad content? You didn't like the gameplay? Didn't like changes made to the game? Maybe it was pandas. There are a lot of potential reasons, but they all kind of boil down to one idea. You lost confidence in the game, so you left. If we blow this out to an aggregate of all players playing a game, confidence or lack thereof is what causes communities to grow and what causes them to shrink. There are a few examples of this in action. Warlords of Draenor shook the confidence of WoW players, causing what can only be described as the largest subscriber collapse in MMORPG history, while Legion has inspired a lot of confidence in players, bolstering WoW's numbers substantially. But one of the largest and probably most notorious examples of community collapse ever were the new game enhancements to Star Wars Galaxies. New Game Enhancements was a content patch for Star Wars Galaxies released about 2 weeks after the launch of the Trials of Obi-Wan expansion pack. It was designed to streamline professions in combat to be more action-heavy and easier to balance. What it wound up doing was gutting the sandbox nature of Star Wars Galaxy in favor of a more theme park-style approach, and the fallout was catastrophic. The open-world sandbox nature of Star Wars Galaxies was its primary selling point. When people think of what they loved about it, they often go back to that sandbox nature. But New Game Enhancements took away this in favor of more streamlined gameplay, and the reaction was telling. 6 months after Trial of Obi-Wan and New Game Enhancement, Star Wars Galaxies had gone from 250,000 subscribers to just over 100,000, losing more than half of its community in 6 months. Though eventually the game began to recover, the community never truly did, and in 2011, 5 years later, with its slipping subscriber numbers, SOE pulled the plug on one of the most notorious MMO closures of all time. The New Game Enhancements might not have been the only reason for the shutdown, but the collapse in the community that followed New Game Enhancement certainly didn't help. Confidence is the lifeblood of MMORPG communities. Without confidence, MMORPGs fall apart. They lose their players, and when their players are gone, so too is the game. Another example of this is WildStar, for after 2 botched launches, confidence in WildStar is low. And that's unfortunate because it's got a lot of good ideas, but because confidence has taken such a hit, and the community is so small, the game has a lot of trouble growing. Once confidence is broken, it takes a lot of work to get it back. So we understand that communities make games stronger, and are made stronger or weaker by players' confidence in that game. And to those ends, developers can inspire or crumble confidence in those players by changing their game. I've said for, oh wow, it's actually been a year now, that the most important part of MMORPG is the second M, multiplayer. More than ever, this is so true. When World of Warcraft implemented new features that focused on community interaction, like World Quests and Mythic Plus progression, World of Warcraft began to flourish. On the other hand, as MMORPGs become more single-player in nature, as they implement community-shaking changes, people lose confidence and drift away. And when this happens, sometimes it can lead to a tragic shutdown. Today, I want to make a plea to the MMORPG developers in the crowd. Those who are, want to be, or just like me are just huge nerds about it. When you think of how you change your game, always ask that burning question. How does this change the community? How will players change? And how will the change affect how people enjoy the game? Will it be with their friends, or will this change foster a solo attitude? How do we make it so this game allows communities to thrive? Because communities preserve MMORPGs. Communities grow MMORPGs. Communities kill MMORPGs. Community is at the heart of MMORPGs. Because at the end of the day, we all just want to play with our friends. Hey there, everybody. Thank you very much for watching this video on community in MMORPGs. I tried to speak in a bit of a softer tone this week because I found myself yelling a lot, and I'm not sure if I like that, and I'm not sure if you like that. So tell me what you think about me being a little bit softer on the microphone this week. Other than that, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do like and subscribe if you did. It's a huge support to the channel. Share it with your friends. That always is a massive boost. But thank you very much for watching, and you all go out there and have a great one. Oh wait, one more thing before you go out and have a great one. I host a Discord community that is open to everybody. I thought in a video about communities, it might be a good time to advertise that community, and we're working on building guilds in a number of MMORPGs so people can experience all of these games with a consistent and awesome community of cool people who really love them too. If you are interested in joining this community, there is a link in the description and another one in the channel description on my channel here. It's the Orange Discord. I'm always in it to hang out, so if you want to hang out with me or these other awesome people who are down for MMORPG playing in all kinds of games, you should stop on by. It's open, it's free, anybody can join it. So come on down to the Discord and join our little community. Now you can get back to having a great one, though. Have a good one, everybody.